Hi, I'm Susan Rutledge, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a seamless pattern swatch using the rectangle tool, a grid, and the gradient tool in Adobe Illustrator. Now this is going to be a very simple seamless pattern swatch, but I believe once you see how I make this, it'll inspire your creativity to use this same method and create a lot of different seamless pattern swatches. One way to change this pattern is to add a color behind it, and that'll give you a totally different look. Then if you want to expand your skills and learn how to make some more complicated seamless pattern swatches, I'll leave a link to one of my tutorials at the end of this video, and you can check that out next. While you're at it, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my future tutorials. Now let's move to a new document and we'll get started. The first thing I'll do is make some changes to my workspace. I'll click on the Properties tab, and then in the Ruler and Grids area, I'll click on this middle icon to turn the grid on, and then I'll come to Snap Options and click on that middle icon to turn Snap to Grid on. Now the grid is too large for this project, so I'll come over to Preferences, and I'll go up and click on Guides and Grid, and I'm going to change the number of subdivisions. So instead of 4, I'm going to type in 30 here and then say OK. Now the grid's really small, which is what I want, but it's too small to work with. So I'm going to get the Zoom tool, keyboard shortcut Z, and zoom in. This just changes the view, not the size of my actual work. Now the darker lines on the grid mark out 1 inch. I'm going to get the rectangle tool, keyboard shortcut M. I'll start in the top left corner where these dark lines intersect, and I'm going to drag 4 squares over to the right and 4 squares down. This gives us the first square of the design. Then I'll move to the left toolbar and double click on the gradient tool icon to open the gradient tool dialog box. I'm not going to change the light color on the left side of the slider, but I am on the right side, so I'm going to double click right here. This gives me a color stop and it opens the swatches panel so that I can choose a color. And I'm going to choose this gray CMYK 00070, and that lightens up this dark area. And then I'll click on the artboard to close the swatches panel and come up to the type, and I'll click on the center icon here. This is the radial gradient. We'll apply that to our design and then close out the gradient dialog box and get the selection tool, keyboard shortcut V, and deselect our square. So this is going to be the basic design for our square. And if you want your square lighter, or if you want different colors, all you do is change those on those color stops in the gradient slider. But I'm going to leave the rectangle this color and make some copies. I'll select the rectangle, and I'm going to hold down the Option key to make a copy, the Shift key to drag in the same horizontal line, and I'm going to drag to the right until I have one small square in between the starting rectangle and the copy. Then I'll release my mouse and then take my hand off of the keyboard. Then with the copy still selected, I'll duplicate that move with the keyboard shortcut Command D. And I'll do that again and again and again. Now I'll come back to the original rectangle, and I'm going to do the same thing vertically. I'll hold down the Option key to make a copy and the Shift key to drag in the same vertical line. I'm going to drag down until I have one square in between the starting rectangle and the copy, and then duplicate that move, keyboard shortcut Command D, Command D, Command D, and Command D. Now to fill in the rest of the square, I'll select these 5 rectangles, hold down the Option key to make a copy, and hold down the Shift key so I drag in the same vertical line. Then release my mouse and take my hand off the keyboard. I'll duplicate that move with the keyboard shortcut Command D, Command D, Command D, and Command D. And we have our basic design complete. Now there's not a fill color behind the design, so we're going to need a bounding box to let Illustrator know what the bounds of the swatch are. So I'll get the rectangle tool, keyboard keyboard shortcut M. I'm going to change the fill color to none because a bounding box has got to be invisible. I'll start in the top left corner and I'm going to drag down and to the right, and I'll drag until I have one extra square on the right and one extra square at the bottom, and then I'll release my mouse and get the selection tool keyboard shortcut V. Now, in addition to being invisible, the bounding box has also got to be behind the design, so I'll use the keyboard shortcut Shift Command left bracket and move it to the back. Then I'll select the design and the bounding box and group them keyboard shortcut Command G. Now we need the swatches panel to place our design in. I'll go up to Window and I'll click on Swatches and then grab the Swatches tab and dock it right next to the Layers tab over here on the right side of my workspace. Now I can grab hold of our design and drag and drop it over and place it right here. We have our design in the swatches panel. I'm going to zoom back out, keyboard shortcut Command 0. You can see now how small that actually is, but it's going to work perfect. I'll get the ellipse tool, keyboard shortcut L, and drag an ellipse out on the artboard, and then I'll move over to the swatches panel and click on our new pattern swatch, and it's going to apply it to the circle. I'll get the selection tool, keyboard shortcut V, and click on the artboard to deselect that, and I'm even going to come over to the properties panel and turn our grid off because I want you to get the full effect of this really cool seamless pattern swatch. I absolutely love it. And if you want to make changes to your swatch, you can do that even after it's been applied to an object. I'll select the circle and come over to the properties panel, and in the appearance area I can change the opacity. Let's select the 100% and type in 75% and press the return key. You can see that I can make it lighter and I can go as light as I want. I just want you to be able to see it on this tutorial. Then I'll select it again. I can come up to Object, Transform, and I can change the size of the pattern by clicking on Scale. Now I don't want to change the size of the circle, so I need to uncheck Transform Objects, but I can change the size. Right now this is 75%, but I can scroll up and down with my mouse and I can change to whatever size I want. But I'll go ahead and leave this at 100%, so I can say Cancel. Then another way to change the pattern is to go back up to Object, choose Transform, and Rotate. And again, we don't want Transform Objects checked, but we do want to change the angle. I'm going to type 45 degrees here and say OK. Then I'll click on the artboard so that you can see that effect. And then finally, like I told you in the beginning of the tutorial, you can actually put color behind the seamless pattern swatch. I'll select my circle. I'm going to copy it with the keyboard shortcut Command C and then paste that copy in place, keyboard shortcut Shift Command V. Now the copy is on the top layer, so if I come over to the properties panel and click on the fill color, let's do this blue right here. The blue is actually going to overshadow our pattern swatch, so we're going to want to move it to the back. I'll click on the artboard to close the swatches panel, and then to move the blue circle to the back, I'll use the keyboard shortcut Shift Command left bracket. And this is our final result. And one of the reasons it was so easy to make is because I used the grid and I also used the snap to grid option. That allowed me to quickly make my squares, everything lined up perfectly. Now it's your turn to use the grid and use that snap to grid option and create some amazing seamless pattern swatches of your own. I do hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you've learned some things about creating simple seamless pattern swatches. Again, I want to remind you to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell because I post regularly and I don't want you to miss any of my future tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. Bye now.